here we go. Let me turn down the metal madness here. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. I had a good weekend because I got Lady Boomer out of the house. That was great. She hasn't been out really much out of the house since her surgery. I mean, other than returning from the hospital. I'm trying to think if we've gone anywhere since she's been back. Is this on? Yes, it is. Okay, this music's just too loud. I couldn't figure out what it is. But anyway, we went out and went to a place where she could have some of her favorite soup, and things are doing good. She's getting better, and apparently the surgeon said she can go back to work in a couple weeks. So we got our fingers crossed. Hope everything stays good, and there you go. So anyway, I see someone's making some Depeche Mode references in the chat. Yeah, it kind of goes there. Anyway, it is Metal Monday. This is not metal-ish, but anyway, you know what? Let's talk about Joe and MLK Day and all the other stuff going on right after the intro. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Here is the intro. Johnny?
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Night.
Yeah! Thank you, Miss Alyssa, for recording that great introduction for me. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Night on the internet. Welcome back to the P-Dog Night channel, where we celebrate the man today, the myth, the legend. Some of it's myth, some of it's legend. I mean, I respect, obviously, the work of Dr. King and a lot of the other civil rights leaders of that era, because there's a lot of stuff that just wouldn't be right as it is today if it weren't for those people. Now, do I think I am let's see. I find him to be a hero, but also to be something that a lot of people have made some myths about Dr. King. I think this is a worthy holiday. I think the holiday should be called American Civil Rights Day, in honor of Dr. King and other civil rights leaders, because there's a whole lot of people that helped us accomplish where we are today. And certainly Dr. King was at the forefront, but he's not the only one. But I think his leadership certainly created a something that we have today that we did not have before, as the melanated folks that I am kin to. So, but I want to talk about today Joseph Reed Biden, because he made a speech at the world famous Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Dr. King was a pastor and a officiant. And look, I'm not going to show the whole speech. I could, but it's 28 minutes long. I might go through it this afternoon. That might be my thing today, because it's 28 minutes long, and I want to listen to the whole thing. But there's some things in it that, just Joe Biden pandering and lying to black people, and then we'll go through not Dr. Biden, not his wife, but Joe Biden's. Couple of just little tidbits about Joe Biden's legacy when it comes to this subject matter, and also just some other stuff that's going on with him and with the Dr. King holiday, and some things they did in the last couple of days that made me go, "What the hell was that?" But anyway. Did I say welcome yet? Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Night on the internet. Welcome back to the P-Dog Night channel on this Monday, Metal Monday, the 16th of January, 2023. Let's say good morning to those in the chat, and then we're going to move on. First in the chat over on Rumble. By the way, make sure you're subscribed on Rumble, on Odyssey, and on YouTube. I'm going to start probably doing streaming to all three channels soon, because you just never know. I get concerned. In fact, YouTube is really weird. I went and requested reviews of some old streams back like in the first couple weeks of me streaming this show, because apparently somewhere along the line, YouTube decided that all of my videos from back then, or not the videos, when I started doing the Morning Night Live just over 4 years ago, they decided that all of those videos, probably the first 200 episodes, were all, they are advertised restricted now. And I don't know why. I have no idea. So if you're familiar with how YouTube works and you do this kind of stuff, you get, monetized, and then you get the restricted ones, right? And then they won't monetize at all. But when they do the restricted ones, they will not promote those videos. And you've probably heard about that, talking to a couple different YouTubers here. And so I went and asked them I requested a review of about 10 or 12 videos from back when I first started the show. This is when I didn't even swear on the show. I was so nice. And I think 11 of the 12 that I asked requests for, they confirmed that these videos are not suitable for all advertisers. And I'm like, what the fuck? What? What are you talking about? And I swear, I think somebody, usually, because they have someone in India doing this shit. And I'm pretty sure that somebody who just didn't feel like going through and reviewing them all just said, nope, they're fine. We confirm that these are not acceptable to most advertisers. I'm like, you shag-offs. So anyway, I'm gonna try to do that the Twitter shame them appeal, like that sometimes works, but I just can't figure it out. It's crap. Anyway, so let's say good morning. First in the chat on the Rumble side is Avocados Diablo, who gets the bell. Thank you, sir. Also, good morning to Mike Savage, Blarg, Simon Wolfwood, Jimmy Das Hotep, and Furry Kitten. Oh, is that it? That's everyone over on Rumble. Okay, on YouTube, good morning to Avocados Diablo, who gets the bell, because he's Johnny on the spot. And also, he has, here's a question that one of the first utterances, it wasn't the first utterance, but it's one of the first utterances that Avocados Diablo had. He said, if raw bacon is so bad for you, why is it so delicious? ED, please tell me that you're not consuming raw bacon. That's just gross. I'm just saying, it's disgusting. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I do not understand. Okay. Also, good morning, Tyrannus Alexandrus Tremerlich. Tyra Alexander, our friend Simon Wolfwood's in the house. Hi to you too. I see you did one of those wavy emoji things. Cool. Good morning, Mike Savage, Blarg. Good morning, Trippy Liberty. Always in the background there. Good morning, Chicago Mike. Unacceptable Views, Jimmy Das Hotep. Did I say Mike Savage Blarg? I did. Good morning, Saptus Wolf, Aaron Meredith, Maddie's in the house. Also, Rick Ashbringer, nice to see you. Bubba's here. Welcome, sir. Also, good morning to TC, Somnambul Nation, and Jethro Heteros, Lord Stanhope, Rotten Corpses in the house. Gulf City, DCC 182, a.k.a. Blink, is in the house. Also, good morning to James PFP, Tyler F, and is that it? HP Lovecraft's here. Good morning. and Asian Research Director at Eddie Haskell. That looks like, at least that's everyone I see in the chat so far. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy the show. So Joseph Rahim Biden went to the world famous Ebenezer Baptist Church. Ebenezer Baptist Church is the church where Dr. Martin Luther King was a pastor, or one of the pastors at the church. That's what, it's the big old church in Atlanta. And it was Ebenezer basically was the heart of the civil rights movement. I mean, the people in that church and that congregation and the people in that community were very much pressing, the civil rights movement. And it was, look, you have to be cognizant of how it could be such a dangerous situation to be in that situation. I mean, you see the black and white video, you see the footage from roughly the late mid 50s to the end of the 60s, right up until Dr. King's death, and even into the early 70s with still riots and things going on around the country. That these people, I owe a lot to the people who are there. Now, granted, I didn't live anywhere near there. I lived in Omaha. My parents were both teachers, successful, both master's degrees, and we built a house in what would have been the suburbs had it been in the city limits or within an incorporated area. And actually, I should probably bring that story to you sometime. The story of how the neighborhood I grew up in came to be, because my parents were actually, they always talk about redlining, right? And it's not a practice that happens today. I was in the mortgage business. I know a lot about how real estate works, and at least where I live here, there is no so-called redlining. But back when my parents were trying to purchase a home in Omaha, and they were trying to, they were looking at some fairly decent neighborhoods because, they had two incomes, both master's degrees, and had long teaching careers. And they were looking for a house. And, it's funny, my parents would go to an open house and the realtors wouldn't even talk to them. They wouldn't even say hello. My parents would walk in and walk around, and then they'd walk in, they would just look around, and then like someone else, a white couple would come in, and the realtors would be, oh, hey, hi, let me show you around, this and that and that, right? And my parents, especially my mother, being the stubborn person that she was, at one point just said, hey, this is BS, although I don't think my mother would have said BS at the time. My dad would have, but my mom wouldn't have. And they ended up working with a developer and with some other black families. And they went and built a neighborhood just outside of an incorporated, or in an unincorporated area, just basically adjacent to one of the neighborhoods in Omaha. And so they built this neighborhood, and it was multiracial. It wasn't just black people, but there were 9 black families in the neighborhood as this neighborhood was being built. And it's a pretty interesting story because my parents basically desegregated West Omaha in sort of a way without even necessarily trying. So it was interesting. So anyway, Baltimore is redlining and blockbusting center. Real estate agents are creeps. Are they? See, now it doesn't so much happen here. And at least now when they say redlining, it's kind of an unwritten fact, and you see that they're steering people in certain areas, but the real estate, for example, the mortgage companies used to do it too. Mortgage companies don't do that anymore. In fact, the way the mortgage business has been, at least when I was in, especially in the 2000s, the late 90s and 2000s, we kind of did the opposite of redlining. The government was encouraging us to just make loans wherever we could, and especially in low-income census tracts. And so at least the lending part, there was no redlining. It certainly was in the, there might have been in the practice of what realtors would do. But, I guess my own experience is, the three houses that Lady Boomer and I have owned have all been in the suburbs, and we've never had a problem. And maybe it's because I'm just such a charming motherfucker. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough of that story. Let's talk about Joe Biden speaking at Ebenezer Baptist Church, because he told, the title is a bit, it might be clickbaity, but it's true. Joe Biden lying to black people again, because Joe Biden has a tendency to lie to black people. Now, remember, you may remember this during the campaign, the 2016 campaign, a young fellow named Ice Cube. It's funny I can call him a young fellow because I'm old. Am I older than Ice Cube? I might not. We're probably around the same age. Anyway, he gotten a little kerfluffle with the black community because Ice-T went and talked to the guy with the funny hair. And they were talking about, what are you going to do for Americans of the melanated variety, right? Hello, Johnny Hellcat, by the way. Hello, Straight Sith Male. Hello, my favorite Canadian Jaeger pony. Ice Cube was, he was putting together a plan for what, the government and, the world could do for black people in America. And Donald Trump, the guy with the funny hair, who's supposed to be a racist, said, yeah, sure, let's meet, let's talk, let's see what we can come up with. And then Donald Trump came out not a few months later with something called the Platinum Plan for Black America, trying to improve the situation for, not Ice-T, Ice Cube, not Ice-T, someone says Ice-T in there. No, it was Ice Cube. He said, he came up with this Platinum Plan for Black America, things we're going to do, this and that. And there was a lot of criticism of Ice-T for, actually talking with Donald Trump, just talking, not endorsing him, nothing, just talking with him. And he said, well, yeah, we're supposed to, we want to do this with the Biden campaign too. And the Biden campaign said, oh yeah, we would do this, but why don't we just wait till after the election? We'll talk with you after the election. We're not gonna stick our necks out and say we're gonna do some stuff. Now there is some stuff in that Platinum Plan that was kind of, interesting. I mean, mostly the Trump Platinum Plan had to do with economic development of, building businesses and things like that. And I loved it. I thought, if you're going to do something for a community, and it was not necessarily geared specifically to black people, but it certainly was geared towards, again, low-income census tracts, trying to build businesses, a community, and things like that, right? And so the Biden campaign, Joe Biden's like, well, we'll talk to you later. We'll get to that. Whatever. We'll get to that. And you'd think that because I keep alternating between Ice-T and Ice Cube. Maybe that's the problem. I keep meaning Ice Cube. I apologize. Ice Cube, the guy from NWA, niggas with attitudes, fuck the police. That Ice Cube, that guy. And then he became like a rom-com guy. That was the weirdest transition in an acting career. Although he did play it like a mean police chief once, which is hilarious because he had something to do with the fuck the police. But anyway, Ice Cube. I'll try to remember to say it just that way every time. So anyway, for whatever reason, the now president still hasn't met with Ice Cube, and really the party that's supposed to be the savior of black folks, really ain't doing shit for black folks. Which is, I don't expect the government to do shit for me, but if you're supposed to be the party that helps black folks, why aren't you doing anything? You're talking about shit like student loan debt, which affects more rich white kids. But anyway, so that's the thing. He hadn't done anything. Now, I guarantee you, and this is such a big if that it's probably not going to happen. But wait, what? did YouTube eat HB? I don't know. I don't think so. I'll have to look. Anyway, so here's what's going to happen. If perchance Joseph Rahim Biden makes it through the next 2 years and decides to run for president again, which I'm not, the odds are very low as far as I'm concerned, but some of you might think so. So I'm pretty sure that he'll come up with something just before the next election just to appease black people. And that's kind of how, because that's how Joe Biden is. He'll make up some shit and they'll say, oh, here's what we're going to do to please black people. Then they're never going to do it anyway. Or they'll say, oh, it's the Republicans' fault. They wouldn't let us do this. The Republican Congress are racist and won't let us do what we had planned. And then they'll, try to hope that more black people vote for him. Anyway, so Joe Biden went to, I'm really off on track here, aren't I? Joe Biden went to Ebenezer Baptist Church. And we're going to listen just to the first few minutes of this speech because I want to have you listen to Joe Biden lie to black people for just a few minutes. Oh, Jim Neighbor, thank you. HB got a week suspension on YouTube. Oh, that sucks. Look, I've got a feeling. Let's see. When I listened to him, I want to say Thursday night, I would not be shocked that he got suspended on YouTube. If he did that entire 7 hours that he did, I listened to it on Rumble, but I know he also broadcasts on YouTube. If he did that entire 7 hours on YouTube, he broke all sorts of YouTube policies, right? Because YouTube doesn't allow you to talk about some shit, and he talked freely about some shit, and then he just shut he took the stream down. But my guess is my guess is they caught him this time, which is fine. That's why he takes all of his streams down off of YouTube. But my brother is definitely on Rumble. You can find him on Rumble. You can find him on, what's the other one? Entropy. I think he does streams on Odyssey too, but I know for sure Rumble and Entropy. So you'll have to find him there and just pay attention. Good morning, by the way. Thank you, Jim Neighbor, by the way. Nice to see you here. Are you related to the, isn't that the Gomer Pyle dude? I can't even think of the catchphrase of Gomer Pyle, but I'm sure you've never heard that joke before. And also, good morning, ZZA. Nice to see you. And Hig is in the house. Okay, so let's watch Joe Biden lie to black people for a few minutes here, and then I'll point out the lies. If I don't, I have the clips of the lies, but I'm pretty sure they're all within the first few minutes. So we're gonna watch a few minutes of this. Oh, TC, I see you over there on and Furry Kitten also over on Rumble too. Nice to see y'all. I'm surprised he only on a 7-day suspension. He plays with fire a lot, and but he, that's why he takes the streams down on YouTube. It'll be very interesting to see how long that goes. He didn't do nothing. Well, no, as far as I'm concerned, he should be able to do everything he does on Rumble on YouTube. But YouTube is kind of how would I describe it? They're a bunch of pussies. Probably get this one's not getting monetized. Anyway, let's listen to Joe Rahim Biden lie to black people for at least a few minutes, and then we're going to move on. So here we go. Here's the beginning of a speech. Now, he seems, as usual, I'm going to go back just to where the choir ends, and he's going over here to talk to this guy, and I think Reverend Warnock wanted him to come to the podium, but he went over here and shook hands, and the people cheered and loved Joe Biden. So here we go. All right, so he's greeting this dude. I like the Hard Bastard, been watching since way back. Yes, I am a fan of the Hard Bastard too. Well, he's my friend. All right, cool. Here comes Joseph Rahim Biden. Now, he's a little confused. His microphone's not working, and Reverend Warnock tries to fix it for him, or tries to put it on the stand, and he wants it in his hand, and so he can walk around, and he's still not. he's pulling a P-Dog boomer moment, but, it happens.
Can y'all hear me? Yo.
Oh, yes, we hear you just fine. Yes.
I've spoken before parliaments, kings, queens, leaders of the world. I've been doing this for a long time, but this is intimidating following
Oh,
Y'all are incredible.
Following the choir, yes, Joe's. Now, look, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, he's lying, but he's not intimidated. But he is endearing himself to the crowd, and I think that's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. Joseph Rahim Biden can be, at times, charming. Honestly, really, I mean, it's not a joke. This is not a joke. He can be charming. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
And let's lay one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic. We used to go to 7:30 Mass every morning in high school and then in college before I went to the black church.
First line, first sentence of the speech, of his introduction, he lied his ass off. This is a long debunked lie. The pastor of the black church that he claims he ever went to, the guy who was back, almost as old as Joe Biden, said he never seen Joe Biden in his church. In fact, not in the 50 years that Joe Biden has been in the Senate or Congress or whatever. He's been a public official. Joe Biden lied right off the bat. Let's hear that again. Let's hear this lie, this absolute fabrication right off the bat about Catholic Church. Then I went over to the black church.
Let's lay one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic. We used to go to 7:30 Mass.
Yeah, first of all, I don't believe he went to 7:30 Mass every morning, let alone went over to the black church. First of all, the black church, if it was a Baptist church, they ain't there every morning. The black church, they're only there on Sunday, and Joe Biden wasn't there. He was not the white face in the black church. These lying motherfucker. I can't believe it. Right off the bat.
Morning in high school and then in college. Before
see, he's lying because he can't say the words right. Anyway.
Went to the black church.
No, he didn't.
Not a joke. Andy knows this.
At any time Joe Biden says not a joke is Biden speak for I'm lying my ass off. He is lying his ass off. When he says not a joke, he's lying his ass off, I guarantee. Anyway.
Andy, it's so great to see you,
and
man.
You're
one of the greatest we've ever had.
Andy's over there looking like, what the fuck you talking about, Joe? You weren't in no black church. You lying motherfucker. Anyway.
Andy and I took on apartheid in South Africa.
Oh, what? Hold it. Here we go again. Lie number 2. Andy and I took on apartheid in South Africa. How did you take on apartheid in South Africa, Joe? Oh my God. He's in a church. I'm surprised there ain't no lightning coming down on his ass. What, Joe? What did you just say?
Not a joke. Andy knows this. Andy, it's so great to see you, man. You're one of the greatest we've ever had. You really are, Andy. Andy and I took on apartheid.
I think he's talking about Andrew Young. Now, look. Andrew Young was did fight against apartheid, right? I'm assuming it's Andrew Young. Is Andrew Young even alive? Let me see here. Andrew Young. I'm assuming that it is Andrew because, and I don't know why he's calling him Andy. Nobody calls Andrew Young Andy. So I'm sure he's over there thinking, Joe, why the hell are you calling me Andy? Yes, he is still. Oh, wait a minute. Is he in? Oh, no, that was in. He was the mayor. He was the Secretary of State. But Andrew Young actually did have some activism against apartheid. But Joe Biden didn't. Andrew Young's probably looking at him like, well, I was going to use a black euphemism that I can use that most white people can't say, but Andrew Young could say it. But I'll just paraphrase: "Negro, please." But he would say that to Joe Biden, which make it even more ironic. Hello, Robert Banks. I see you here, and selected boys in the house. Why didn't that? All right, let's continue.
And a whole lot else. They didn't want to see him coming.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
we used to, that's where we'd organize to march or to segregate the city. My state was
What?
like yours, segregated by law.
What? No, another lie. Joe didn't march in his city. He did not lie. He is lying his ass off. So much shit he lies about this. But it endears him to the black folk who aren't really listening carefully and aren't doing the fact checks because, well, the fact checks aren't going to fact check Joe Biden, but there are some people who are going to fact check Joe Biden. And he is a lie. Anyway, let's see what else he says.
We were a slave state. To our great shame.
That's true.
We had a lot of leftovers of the bad things came from that period of time.
Like, you mean like Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden, racial jungle Joe? We'll get to that.
But
I'm sure someone in this audience remembers Joe talking about not wanting his kids to live in a racial jungle. I'm just saying, you've all heard it. I know that someone in this audience knows Joe's past. Someone in this audience also knows that Joe Biden wrote the 1996 crime bill. At least he claims to have written it. Now, granted, he could have forged it. He could have plagiarized it. He could have stolen it. He could have faked it, but he was part of it. And he talks about writing it all the time, or at least he used to, but now he didn't talk about writing the 96 crime bill because that would upset the black people in the church where he is speaking. And I'm pretty sure he won't bring it up during the speech. But let's see what else this dumbass says in the first few minutes.
Yeah, anyway.
Wait, what? What's the anyway about?
Like you're segregated by law. We were the city, my state was
okay.
Like you're segregated by law.
Right.
We were a slave state.
Yes.
To our great shame.
Yes.
And, we had a lot of leftovers of the bad things came from that period of time.
Really? Did you now? Because remember, you became senator or congressman, whatever your first office that you had in the United States of America, and it was in the 1970s when you were concerned about being your kids being stuck in a racial jungle. And I'm wondering how many leftovers from 1865, being a slave state in Delaware, what were those remnants that you're talking about? Also, wasn't Delaware part of the North? They fought for the North, even though they were slave, because there were slave states from the North, that the non-seceding states that were still slave states, even though they were fighting for the North. So it's interesting that some of these slave states were actually fighting for the guys in the blue and not the gray coat guys. But just saying. All right, here we go.
But anyway. That's another time.
Okay, wait. Question. I thought Joe originally came from Pennsylvania. Well, yes, he was born in Pennsylvania. He lived in Scranton for, 4 years. I think they moved to Delaware when he was very young. But he certainly, maybe, did he grow up in Scranton? I can't remember. But he talks about Scranton a lot. He talks about Scranton. Because anytime he wants to talk about, people who work, then he talks about, well, I'm just a guy from Scranton. I worked in the coal mines, which he never worked in the coal mines, and I drove a semi, and he never drove a semi. And, I was the first in my class, at the top of my class in law school, which he was the last in his class, or at least the third from the last. And I was the only guy in scholarship, which he didn't get the scholarships. He had a half scholarship. And I graduated with 3 degrees, and he only graduated with 1 degree. I could go all day on the lies that Joe Biden tells. Good morning, Crackshot. I see you, brother. All right, here we go.
But I learned a lot.
And
I promise if any preacher preached to me back then, I'm not going to be nearly as long as you were.
Okay, but he did speak 28 minutes, which we're not watching this whole damn thing. If you want to watch the whole thing, it'll be in the tabs. By the way, as you know, everything we do, speeches, videos, whatever, at the end of the show, I put them all in a single link called the One Tab link. It's in the second paragraph of the description on both YouTube and Rumble. You can click that link, and one page, every single link will be on one page. So there we go. Let's see. We'll go a little bit longer, then I'm going to stop.
Actually, I have a bad reputation for speaking too long.
Do you now? Because
He followed.
No, you don't. In fact, right now your reputation is you can last about 10 minutes before you say something really stupid. And that's generous. I'm telling you. Hello, Jeff Overturf, by the way.
The path of Moses, a leader of inspiration.
Okay, that's okay. I am gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop there because if you want to listen to Joe Biden speak for 28 minutes, you can do that. I just wanted to prove to you that, as often is the case,
Calling
shut up, Joe.
Not to-
There we go. That Joe Biden just right off the bat comes out lying because he wants to endear himself to the audience. Now, you would think that, like I said, some people in that audience would be aware of the stupid shit that Joe says is not true. Because even some of the friendly venues that have basically kept Joe's taint clean with their tongues have actually called him out on some of the lies he tells. But I want to tell you a little bit about who Joe Biden was. Now so the big ones that they said he was lying about, and there's some tweets here. This is I used to go to 7:30 mass in the morning in high school and college, and then before I went to the black church. Not a joke. Yeah, that's a lie. He also had that's the same one. Did I mess up here? I did that. Three different people pointed that one out. I guess that's overkill. Here, we'll close this. Here's something though, something Joe Biden said in 1977. He said integrating black students would turn schools into a jungle. A racial jungle. I don't want my children to grow up in a jungle. A racial jungle. Yeah, I'm sure that must have been right after he did one of those civil rights marches. Oh my goodness. And then what was the other one here? I only brought a couple out here. This is one of Joe's greatest hits. This is even more recent. Let's we'll watch this in a second. Real quick. Thank you, Cryptic. First sponsor of the day, dropping a deuce in the tip jar. I love it when people drop a deuce in the tip jar. He said, "What did dementia patient do now?" Well, you just missed some of it. He claims that he went to Catholic mass every morning, and then he'd go to the black church before he went to school every day. And then he also said, what did he say? Something about he and Andrew Young fighting apartheid together. Joe Biden really wasn't involved in the apartheid fight that much. And then there was one more. Hang on, there is one I'm missing. Did he not say it yet? Hang on a second here. Where is that one? Oh, see, here's one. When he said he claimed he was a civil rights activist. When I started off as a 22-year-old kid on the East Side in the civil rights movement, which, no, he did not do that either. Anyway, thank you, Cryptic. I appreciate you. You get the bell and a clap for you. Oh, and then we also got one, a 357. Now that is quite the caliber of donation. I appreciate the sponsorship from Johnny Hellcat, the original viewer of the Morning Night Live, the very first viewer. In fact, when we come to our 1,000th episode, I might show you a few minutes of that first show, which was awful. But Johnny Hellcat and Hate Camel, they gritted their teeth and got through it, and I appreciate you more than you know, Johnny Hellcat. Johnny Hellcat with the 357, and Johnny Hellcat, you are the new Streamlab Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you, sir. Johnny Hellcat says, I don't want to say he's lying, but I can smell the barnyard from all the way on the other side of the country. Yoo-hoo! Yeah. I hear you, Johnny Hellcat. It's pretty stanky up there. It's up in there. Now, here's one of Joe Biden's other greatest hits. And this is more recent, where I'm sure that this is very, very endearing to black people when Joe Biden said this. But here's Joe Biden more recently talking about the legacy of Martin Luther King. Now, maybe he had a point here, but it still did not sound good. Here we go, Joe Biden. Oh no! Why is that muted?
George Floyd.
Let's try this again. Here he is. There you go. Let's start this over.
Even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
Did it now?
Because just like television changed the civil rights movement for the better, when they saw Bull Connor and his dogs ripping the clothes off of elderly black women going to church and
wait, what? What? Bull Connor's dogs ripping the clothes off of elderly black women going to church? What are you talking about, Joe? No. John. Oh. Now, the dogs and stuff were stopping protests, but they were ripping the clothes off of elderly women going to church. What are you talking about? There were some terrible things that happened during that time. The police and the way they handled the protests, because the protests were mostly peaceful, and much more mostly peaceful than the George Floyd riots. But, well, I don't know. Again, you know my thoughts on the George Floyd protests / riots / anarchy. There are three distinct groups of people during those events. And I've talked about that at length. I won't go into it again. But that's a weird thing to say. But anyway,
we're ripping the skin off of young kids. That all those folks around the country.
That's a weird exaggeration.
Heard about this, but didn't believe it. But they saw it. So my point is.
What is your point, Joe?
I think people are really realizing that this is a battle for the soul of America. Okay. Who are we? What do we want to be? How do we see it?
You know what's weird? Because during the George Floyd protests, those things with dogs and water cannons and all that shit, that wasn't happening. And, but now granted, if you looked in the late 60s, early 70s, there's also cities on fire, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, Watts. There were actual riots where people were burning shit down like a motherfucker. And the idea that it didn't have an impact on the whole world was watching. And I think some of the leaders in our country knew that and realized that, especially were cognizant of it, were the Kennedys and Lyndon Johnson. Because Lyndon Johnson, remember, Lyndon Johnson was no saint when it came to black folks and civil rights. In fact, Lyndon Johnson may well have been a member of the KKK at some point. Now, that's speculation, but he certainly was a racist. At least the stories say so. And I got to tell you, but Lyndon Johnson learned to make political hay out of it and also realized the writing was on the wall the way the rest of the world was watching. So he did some things in some ways that he helped, but in some ways, the famous phrase, we're going to have these voting for us for 200 years because he made a political calculation. Anyway, let me get to some of these donations because I'm getting backed up here. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Wait, let me fix this because I can't see it. There we go. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Drop a 5 minus 1 penny in the tip jar. Thank you, sir. And you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you, sir. Who says, "Will Joe Biden make the speech where he states he's black?" Ain't that the truth? Because he's already been. What has he been? He's been Puerto Rican. He's been. What else? He's been a lot of things. He's been a truck driver. He's been a coal miner. Anyway, thank you, Chicago Mike. Appreciate it. And also Cryptic with a 556, which is a big bullet, drop into the tip jar. Now, Cryptic, you are the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Cryptic says, so another day ending in Y. That's the only time Biden lies. That is the truth. Thank you, Cryptic. And also Maddie dropping a big Lincoln in the tip jar saying, yes. The dog ripping clothing, the apartheid fights, his marches through the jungle Our senile senior-in-chief loves to spit a yarn and should write a book of fiction to tell us of his adventures and misrememberings. Thank you, Maddie. So true. So true. So, yes, Joe Biden, Joe Biden's like Forrest Gump. He's been part of everything. So anyway, thank you for sponsoring the show, Maddie. All right. Now, the reason, obviously, that he was speaking at these events is it is MLK Day. And there's been an interesting, now I went into the hashtag MLK Day on Twitter, right? Oh, wait, before I go into this, let me thank a couple people. I should be thankful of those of you who, what did I do there? That's not what I want to do. Here we go. Let's do this right here. There we go. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. All right, here we go. Real quick, thank you, Jimmy Das Hotep, for tweeting out the show, tweeting out the Rumble link. I greatly appreciate that. Also, Somnambul Nation, thank you. Simon Wolfwood retweeting my tweet of the tweet. And someone named Mr. Kennedy retweeting Jimmy Das Hotep's tweet of the tweets of the shows. So thank you all of you for sponsoring the show. Greatly appreciated. As always. And then let's see. Oh, and Johnny Hellcat too. I almost forgot Johnny Hellcat. So there you go. All right. So it is MLK Day, right? And so now, remember when I told you that it's very dangerous scrolling on Twitter pretty much on any subject anymore, because at a certain point, if you scroll long enough, you're going to run into some porn. And when I went to go pick out some things, some people to highlight on MLK Day on the Twitter, on the hashtag Happy MLK, lo and behold, the third tweet that was in the list was some porn of some guy with a large thingy going into a woman with, well, just, it fit in there somehow. And I just like, damn, can't you have some reverence for the reverend? I mean, please stop doing that shit. So anyway, let me do this real quick. Let's highlight a few people saying things about MLK Day. Before I do that, thank you, Johnny Hellcat, dropping another big bullet, 357 into the tip jar. And Johnny Hellcat, you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you, sir. Who says, Memory Monday, P-Dog. Night was on my first official stream after Irate Prostate and Jack Crockett helped me with setting up my channel and a test stream. Yes, I was also Johnny Hellcat's first viewer. So we are mutual first viewers, but we never crossed streams. That didn't come out right. Anyway, you know what I mean. All right, so so I'm gonna be very carefully going in and out of this MLK Day Twitter hashtag or whatever trending topic to highlight some people who I think have made some good points. First, our friend Christian Watson. Christian Watson has been on the show, who says, Happy MLK Day, everyone. Take a moment to commit yourself to a colorblind moral outlook in society. And furthermore, make even greater efforts to not attach your beliefs to a cherished social figure. Uh-oh, he's thinking deep here. But instead, the universal ideals, what else going on there, that transcend bumper sticker phrases. That's deep. That's deep. Hello, Nomad. I see you, Nomad. Where's Nomad's music?
Stop. Hammer time.
How you doing, brother? And also, good morning, Jeff Overturf. Black. This is, I can't remember her name. She had, I know her name, but anyway, she's one of the people I followed here. Black conservative educator, free thinker, favorite teach. She's a teacher. One of my favorite quotes by Dr. King. What's your favorite Dr. King quote? Here's hers. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. I like that one. That's a very good one. That's a very, very good one. Now, before I scroll, I have to be careful because you never know when a giant penis is going to show up on your stream. Oh, speaking of giant penis, wait a minute. You got that. you've had to have seen this thing. You've had to have seen this. There was in Boston, Massachusetts, over the weekend, they unveiled a statue in memoriam and in dedication to Dr. King and his wife, Coretta Scott King, also a fine civil rights leader in her own right. And, oh my goodness, it's not, let's just say it's not pretty. Here's one angle of it. And just like, when I saw this thing, I'm like, what the actual fuck? What the actual hell is this? This is a statue in honor of the Kings. P-Dog, phrasing, just phrasing. I don't know what I said. I'll figure it out. Anyway, this thing right here. Now let's look at some other angles because it's a dedication. Oh my God, that doesn't look all that great either. This is called The Embrace. It's an artist who made now this is what it's supposed to be. So now if you look at it from this angle, here's the problem with some art, okay? If you have to really put something out there to make sure people know what the hell it is because it looks really weird, you might have not succeeded in your attempt at art. So here it is. So you can kind of see that what it's supposed to be is her arm here. See, this is her arm and this is his hand over there over her hand. And now back here, he's got his hand or someone's got a hand around on this side. But this thing, it looks like, my God, it looks like something, it looks very phallic in some angles, and a lot of people were not happy about this sculpture that they made. Good morning, Now What? Hello, and also someone else, Brett Hayes, welcome to the show. And I think I said Eddie Haskell a long time ago. Anyway, so this thing, that sculpture, oh my God, did not make a whole lot of people happy. But let me go back to MLK, some of the good MLK Day quotes. Oh, now this is, so here's, let's see, how Donald Trump honors MLK versus how Democrats honor MLK. This is interesting because, the guy with the funny hair who's the racist and all that stuff. Donald Trump said, it was my great honor to sign, what is HR 267, the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park Act, which redesignates the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Site in the state of Georgia as the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Park. Well, that's very nice. And then here's how some people this is versus Trump versus this thing, which from that angle, hoo boy, I'm just saying that is something really, really special. Special. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if any other good notes here. Now, by the way, there are a lot of people who are well, they're forwarding Dr. King some of his more radical views because Dr. King wasn't, look, he's a hero as far as the civil rights movement, but there are certainly some concerns about Dr. King that I wonder, sometimes maybe if you go back and start reading what they actually said and you think Dr. King versus Malcolm, remember? And you go back and you go, maybe Malcolm probably would have been the better one to follow. But I'm just saying, you'll understand that the more we get into it. Anyway, those attacking, oh, this is the Krasenstein brothers. Oh, this is great. This is great. Now, Brian Krasenstein and Ed Krasenstein, they're the Ponzi scheme guys that only had to pay a $450,000 fine, but they made their names by being Trump trolls when Trump was on Twitter. Well, here's what they tweeted out. Now, this is special. Those attacking the MLK statue this MLK Day, not understanding what it is or what it signifies. I'm pretty sure these are the same people who voted for George Santos or Donald Trump after 2 impeachments. It's pretty clear to me. Wow. Now, here's the fascinating thing about that. You know who's complaining about this statue the most? Black people who are honoring Dr. King. In fact, let's take a little ride into someone who might actually know the Kings and Dr. King's wife better than the Krasensteins. Here's an interesting utterances about this statue by Seneca Scott. Now, if you recognize that name, well, you probably don't, but the last name you might recognize, because, Dr. King was married to someone named Coretta Scott King. Seneca Scott is a relative of Coretta Scott King. Let's read this, because this is an interesting take on this very, very, very unusual statue that they're featuring here. That looks like, oh my God. Anyway, by now I'm sure you've seen it. The new Boston sculpture honoring, quote unquote, Dr. Martin Luther King and his wife, Coretta Scott King, looks more like a pair of hands hugging a beefy penis than a special moment shared by the iconic couple. Created by the organization Embrace Boston, the sculpture has inspired mad jokes on Twitter. Yes, it has. And rightly so. But for my family, it's rather insulting. Do you even lift, Pete? Anyway, you see, Coretta was my first cousin, my grandfather's niece, and the daughter of my great uncle Obadiah Scott. Martin married up. At one point, Martin Luther King was dating a white woman and couldn't date her because couldn't marry her because she was black or because she was white, and so then he met Coretta Scott King. Anyway, that's a story. That's one of those stories that don't get out there that much. But anyway, Coretta came from a distinguished family with a significant legacy in her own right. There's a reason she kept the Scott name. We were a black family that owned land, lots of it. Martin knew what he was doing when he pursued her, signaling intentions to marry from the outset. After his assassination, Coretta created a legacy of her own, fighting for healthcare workers and against apartheid in South Africa. But not with Joe Biden. Just saying. $10 million were wasted to create a masturbatory metal homage to my legendary family members, one of the all-time greatest American families. I'll give them that. Where was I here? Still, the Boston debacle could be a blessing in disguise by exposing the insidiousness of astroturfed woke movements that have come to dominate Black America. Uh-oh, he's criticizing the woke Black Americans. I wonder, I've got to figure out who this guy is. How could anyone fail to see that this was a major dick move, pun intended, that brings very few, if any, tangible benefits, easy for me to say, to struggling Black families? Consider this our Declaration of Independence, declares the Embrace Boston website. What does that even mean? Black families in America who need help don't care for more woke slogans. Oh, damn. They need jobs that pay the bills and keep up with food and energy costs that are rising faster than ever before for most of us. Building expensive, stupid new statues with no faces on them and tearing down others for no good reasons are part of the same performative altruism and purity pageants that are the mainstays of the woke left. Uh-oh. Woo! This guy's throwing some smoke. I got to talk to this fellow. So now Boston has a big bronze penis statue. The emphasis on penis. That's supposed to represent Black love at its purest and most devotional. This is no accident. The woke algorithm is racist. and classist. Therefore, its programming will always produce things that harm black and poor people. This sculpture is an especially egregious example of the woke machine's callousness and vanity. Hopefully, it will show more black people that these progressives just aren't in this for our benefit. Oh, whoa, that. Do you get the impression that perhaps Mr. Seneca Scott, Seneca Scott, a former organizer with SEIU Local 2021, is the founder and director of Neighbors Together Oakland. Okay. This is interesting. Compact. I've never heard of Compact. I'm looking at the articles here. The elusive dream of left universalism. Stop doing the work. And this is interesting. I've never heard of this publication, but I'm going to check this out today. Here's the, they almost sound like they're conservatives. The elusive dream of left universalism. Stop doing the work, which I don't mean. Only economic left can beat the woke. Okay, maybe not. They're critical of the woke. Let me see what this stop doing the work article is. A lot of people these days are, quote, doing the work. The work could be anything from prioritizing your mental health to decolonizing a local museum to calling out fellow white people for transgressions like befriending black families. Okay. I'm going to come back to that another day. But anyway, that's fascinating. But so Mrs. Scott King's cousin ain't feeling that statue because the statue basically is feeling itself. But that's a whole nother story, pun intended. Okay. So anyway, there are other articles about that statue. Here's one from the New York Post. Woke $10 million MLK penis statue insults black community, according to Coretta Scott King's kids. So that's the article we just read. The massive bronze piece titled The Embrace features two sets of arms holding each other, an artistic interpretation of the classic photo of Coretta and hubby Martin Luther King hugging after he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. The mainstream media was reporting on it like it was all beautiful because they were told they had to say that. Seneca Scott, Coretta's cousin, told the Post by phone Sunday, referring to the new artwork as on the Boston Common. But then when it came out, a little boy pointed out, that's a penis. And everyone was like, yo, that's a big old dog, man. If you showed that statue to anyone in the hood, they'd have been like, oh, hell no. That's not his words, but I would have said, oh, hell no. But the thing is, if you look at it from one angle, it looks like he's holding the giant penis. You look at it from the other, and it looks like someone's performing head to nether region act. like they're eating the groceries. Yes, that's another angle. It looks like someone eating the groceries. Anyway, he had a scornfully and compact $10 million wasted to create a masturbatory metal homage to the legendary family members, one of the all-time great families. So he told the Post that woke culture allowed the expensive abstract experiment come to fruition. Members of the King family last week unveiled the artwork near MLK and Coretta, where MLK and Coretta first met in college. Martin Luther King III approved the piece, which was designed by conceptual artist Hank Willis Thomas for the organization Embrace Boston. The artwork's funding was a result of a public-private fundraising partnership, the city of Boston said on its online site. It's unclear how much public money may have gone to the sculpture. And then we recognize that all pulling a Biden. When we recognize that all storytelling is an abstraction, all representation is an abstraction, hopefully it allows us to be open to more dynamic and complex forms of representation that don't stick us to a narrative that oversimplifies a person or their legacy. And I think that this work really tries to get to the heart of that. the artist says on his website. Well, it doesn't seem to get to the heart of it. That's the problem. It looks like it gets to the penis or the butthole. But anyway, Seneca told the Post, the woke algorithm is just broke. I don't know what else to tell you. If you went through all of that and that's what you came up with, something's wrong, he said. Online critics were harsh, too, including some who agreed that the work was pornographic. This is awful, said British rapper and podcaster Zuby in a tweet. Let's see. Seneca's grandfather was one of 25 children of Jeff Scott, the son of a slave who became one of the Alabama's wealthiest black landowners, Seneca said. His grandfather's brother, Obadiah, fathered Coretta, whom Seneca and said he met once at a family reunion before her 2006 death. He told the Post that while he couldn't speak for other members of the family, he felt the 25-foot wide, 6,500-pound sculpture was a waste of money that should be melted down. Damn, he really don't like that statue. I mean, look at it. I mean, what does that even look like? It looks like someone's stringing their hands through someone's leg. It's just the weirdest thing. Just, if you're going to make a statue like that, why don't you just put the statue of the two people doing the embrace instead of doing some abstract shit that looks like a penis. Needs more butthole. Anyway, it's doubly insulting for the black community, who's still on average, too many of us are below the poverty line. You're spending $10 million on a bronze statue without heads on it, man. It's a joke. Seneca said the best way to observe Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday was through action. No performative, no photo ops. Put your phone down and go do an act of service that no one knows about. Well, that I'm telling you, I'm liking this Seneca Scott already. I have no idea what his political views are, but I don't really care. What he said right there is spot on. Spot on. All right. Shall we talk about some other shit today? I didn't want to spend the whole day on this. But this is funny though. This is funny. Someone named Arios Legado said, internet be wildin'. Happy MLK Day with this this picture right here. Let's full screen this so you can see it better. Looks like he's choking a bitch. Anyway, that's funny. All right, shall I move on here? What I got here? No, I'm not. I'm skipping that. I don't have time for that shit. Let's see. What's this one? Oh, in my own city. This is kind of wild. So I'm going to show you a little video here and see if you, let's put this on here real quick. This happened at the Mall of America, which is the closest mall to my home. The Mall of America, one of the largest indoor malls in the world, apparently has some issues. Well, this is the mall security stopped this gentleman for a very specific issue, and you'll just have to listen.
I understand that, right. But Jesus is associated with religion and it's offending people.
No, it's not. Actually, it's not a religion. It's about eternal life.
Okay, but it's the same thing, okay? People have been offended.
This is a mall cop at the Mall of America.
Take your shirt off, you can go to Macy's or we can leave.
I didn't say anything, though. I didn't
He's being asked to remove his offensive shirt.
Just going to Macy's.
Now, I don't know if you've seen the offensive shirt yet. Watch carefully. First of all, on one side says Jesus is the only way, with a line through coexist. Now let's see what the front says. They want him to leave because of his shirt. They're kicking him out of the mall.
Okay. Unless you want to be placed in another. If you want to shop here, you need to take that shirt off. What is wrong with
it's offensive. It's an offensive shirt.
What is wrong with my t-shirt?
Now the front of the shirt says Jesus saves.
Again, sir, It is religious soliciting.
But Gretchen gets the rebound and scores! It's okay. That's an old joke. Sorry.
There is no soliciting allowed on mall property.
So they're saying he's soliciting by wearing that shirt.
Okay? So again, we've had yes and no talks. Exactly.
What is
Just
wrong
take
with
it
my
off the shop, man. That's all we want.
No, I'm citizen. I know the Constitution.
But you were
last time I was here, they told me to leave for 24 hours. I did. Yes. That day I was preaching. Yeah, I was preaching the gospel that day.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, they're kicking him out for wearing a shirt that says Jesus save, and then on the back it says Jesus is the only way with a line through one of those stupid coexist bumper sticker, you know what I'm talking about, right? Soliciting because he's wearing that shirt that Jesus saves. And apparently some mall guests were offended by his shirt, reported him, and now the mall police were kicking him out. So here's the story. Mall of America tells man to remove Jesus Save shirt over offended shoppers. Footage of the Christian being told he needs to take off his Jesus Save shirt at the Mall of America because people were offended is going viral. If you want to shop here, you need to take that shirt off. The security officer at the iconic Minnesota Mall can be heard telling the man in a video posted by somebody on TikTok. What's wrong with my t-shirt? Asked the man. The back of the shirt reads, Jesus is the only way, with coexist symbols crossed out. Again, sir, it is religious soliciting. Religious soliciting. There is no soliciting on mall property, which is private property, the guard told the man. We've had guests come up and say they're offended. They're offended by the shirt. And it went round and round, and the article basically just recaps what that happening there. And then there's another article in Blaze Media telling the same story. So I got them both in here, but I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, so anyway, so now here's what's happening. Apparently on February 2nd, there's going to be a mass of people protesting this particular event, and they're going to all wear shirts that say Jesus saves. So this is so stupid. Now here's another clip that ends with the man in the Jesus saves shirt giving a fist bump to a different guard, and the man in the shirt and the guards part ways. It isn't clear if the man left the mall or not. There's other reports that he did not leave. Oh, here's some more information though, because Alpha News, which is a local public or like internet publication of Minnesota news, said the mall prohibits, quote, inappropriate attire, including apparel that has obscene language, obscene gestures, or racial, religious, ethnic slurs that are likely to create a disturbance. The outlet added that the mall also disallows, quote, picketing, demonstrating, soliciting, protesting, or petitioning, end quote. Alpha News also reported that some online commenters suggest that the man was eventually allowed to remain in the mall with his shirt on, but the outlet added that the Mall of America wouldn't provide Alpha News with any context or explanation in regard to the incident. In fact, the outlet said the mall didn't respond to several calls and emails seeking comment this past week. Now a group called Bloomington Patriots plan to demonstrate at the mall on February 4th and is asking attendees to wear Jesus shirts, Alpha News said. As it happens, the outlet added that the Mall of America hosted and promoted a drag show for all ages about a year ago in its iconic rotunda. So anyway, apparently, we'll see what happens with that. I might just go out there to cover that. February 4th, huh? I'm going to put that on my calendar. All right, real quick. Thank you, Maddie, for sponsoring the show again. And Maddie, you are the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you very much. Maddie says, dropping another link into the tip jar, says, 1, he is not soliciting. 2, the only place it is not allowed for you to show your religious and political affiliations is a government office, and you are a government employee working it. That's it. People need to get over themselves. Well, okay, technically, the Mall of America, in theory, could say that you're not allowed to wear that shirt there. Now, it'd be a dumb move, which not even could be. It is a dumb move because they actually did it. But it's just really bad form. I'm just saying. I mean, what was he doing? He was wearing a shirt. Now, if he was wearing a shirt with, some porn that you would find on Twitter, if you scroll too far, they might be able to say that they can get away with kicking you out. But it's a public place. It's open to all. It's supposed to be a friendly and inviting environment. And I don't know why a shirt saying Jesus Save would be so offensive that the mall cops would come and harass you about it. But, welcome to America these days. Also, thank you, Cryptic, for dropping a deuce in the tip jar. Appreciate it. And I love it when people drop a deuce in the tip jar. Jesus is my ease. E-S-E, my ease. Jesus is my ease. I need to write to him sometime. I don't know what that means, but Cryptic, thank you for sponsoring the show. As always, you are a great American. Even if are you a transplant American? I know you're not like from Asia. You're from here. You just have Asian heritage, right? I'd never know. I've never been able to figure that out. In all the conversations we've had, maybe you can clarify one of these days. Okay, let's move on. That was a story. But this is not the first time this has happened. So this is this is someone named Pastor Ramin Parsa, who was arrested at the Mall of America. Now, he did a little more essay. Oh, is that how you spell essay? I thought it was two S's. That's why I was confused. Jesus is my essay. I need to write to him sometime. Okay, I got it. Now I get it. Thank you for everyone who have filled me in on my stupidity. Okay, Pastor Ramin Parsa arrested in the Mall of America. And he writes, I was speaking at a church yesterday in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and after church, one of the pastors and his son took me to the Mall of America. We randomly ran into some Muslims and began a casual conversation. They asked me where I'm from, and I told them. The conversation led to whether I'm a Muslim or not, and I said, I used to be a Muslim, but I converted to Christianity. They asked me why. What happened? Why did you change? I told them after I heard that Jesus died for me and rose again, I gave my heart to him and I was giving them my testimony. Another Muslim lady who was hearing us went and told the security that I'm harassing them. And then security came and arrested me, filed a report, and the police came and took me to jail. I was charged with illegal soliciting and criminal trespassing. I need to appear in court sometime soon. I wouldn't imagine something like this would happen in America. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, this was August 26, 2018. And then I think, let's see, ex-Muslim arrested, handcuffed. So this is a long time ago, but it's not. So the point is, it's not the first time that something like this happened in America. I will have this article out. I know I didn't have it on the screen, but this is Ramin Parsa, who got arrested for talking to people who asked him. I don't know. Now, I'm curious. Did someone just come and they had a conversation, or, how did this happen? Here's Ramin Parsa. Minnesota is increasingly becoming Islamic. I wouldn't say so. There's a whole lot of Somalians who live in Minnesota. It's a huge Somalian population, but there's also a huge Hmong population. But overall, Minnesota's not becoming Muslim. It's not. But anyway, the same Mall of America in which I was arrested had a celebration for an Islamic Eid just a few days ago, but they arrested me for soliciting. They had another celebration for them in Viking Stadium, and U.S. Bank had another one, the stadiums. And the Democratic Party just nominated an Islamist to be the representative in Congress. That would have been Ilhan Omar back then. Why do you want to put people in office who abuse their power and oppress others? What happened to the First Amendment right and diversity? I only had a casual conversation. They asked me why I became a Christian, and I was telling them my story when this all happened. I fled two oppressive Islamic countries to be free in free America, but it seems it's following me. Wake up, America. Wake up, Minnesota. Now, it's interesting. Oh, by the way, I do have a guest coming next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. It's what's Shu's last name? Hang on a second. I got to find her last name because I want to pronounce it correctly. Her name is, let me find it here. It's Shukri Abdurrahman. Now, Shukri Abdurrahman, also known as Shu, is a Muslim woman who lives here in Minnesota. She's in the 5th district. She ran for Congress, or she was running for Congress for the nomination to go against Ilhan Omar. Now, what's interesting about Shukri Abdurrahman, she's very much so totally pro-America, a conservative woman. She lost I think she dropped out before the primary, but I think she might do it again. She has a lot of followers on Twitter, and she's in a lot of Twitter spaces. I highly recommend you follow her, but she is so pro-American and loves this country. And so when you, just because you hear someone is Muslim doesn't mean they don't love this country. I think of the people in Deerwood, Michigan, who were fighting their school board about all the trans books that were in their library that were basically pornographic. And so don't judge a book by what you heard in the early 2000s is all I'm saying. And I'm excited to have Shu here. She'll be a guest again a week from tomorrow. I'm excited to have her come by. All right, now where was I? Let's go back to. Let's talk about some more Joe Biden stuff, because we'll finish up with this today. So we've been talking about these documents, right? The documents they've been finding in Joe Biden's right by his Corvette and in the closet in his old office and who else knows where. Well, apparently there's also been a caller. There was a caller on a radio show recently that said he once personally covered up a mortifying Biden security breach. This guy's either a deeply pathological liar capable of building detailed and compelling fiction and delivering it without so much as a flinch, or he's just telling the truth. So we don't know if this is a George Santos thing or if this is just somebody who actually had a run-in with Joseph Rahim Biden. But we can't tell. Either way, it's an interesting moment unfolded during Friday's The Vince Coglianese show on WMAL. So interesting, in fact, that Coglianese, also Daily Caller's editorial director, delayed his follow-up interview to stay online. A man called in Friday claiming he was sent to recover classified documents left in a hotel room by then Vice President Joseph Rahim Biden during the Obama years. The man, who called himself Fred and said he needed to keep certain details vague to protect himself, said he was part of a trip where the then vice president left classified information in a hotel room somewhere in the continental United States. That information was allegedly discovered, presumably by hotel staff who were definitely not supposed to have access to it. Fred claimed that the information was the equivalent of a presidential daily briefing, suggesting huge amounts of highly classified domestic and international data was in the leftover documents. That information was accessed by individuals who absolutely were not cleared to see them, according to Fred. So here's, this is 4 minutes long. Let's just read the article. The actual radio broadcast is embedded in this article. So if you want to check out the actual broadcast, you can. The issue at hand was the cavalier attitude of this, Fred noted, they're stating that the administration just made it go away and staffers didn't seem to see why this was a big deal. Zero accountability for it, Fred noted. That was what was mortifying. I highly recommend listening to the full clip. It's not too long, and making your own decision about the veracity of Fred's claim. Just to note, Coglianese's show is based in D.C., and the audience is thick with current and former government officials. I wonder if that means feds. Anyway, so the idea that Joe Biden might leave briefing documents in his hotel room, though, does anyone think that's remotely possible? Put a yes or no in the chat. If you think it's possible that Joe Biden just accidentally left some daily briefing classified material in his hotel room that someone else had to retrieve, yes or no. Just throw it in the chat. Okay, let's move on. Here, I always have to do this now because I'm changing between segments. Let's see what this one is. What's the next one here? This is a good question. Did the deep state turn on Joe Biden? This is an article in American Greatness. If the exposure of Biden's apparent mishandling of classified documents arose from an intelligence community operation, it shows that the unelected deep state is beholden to neither party. Now, I think that is an interesting concept that now we're finding out about these documents and whatnot. Lately, the political analysis in the United States seems closer to Cold War era criminology. Kremlinology, like the Kremlin, Kremlinology. Small hints of what's really happening must be divined from the unintentional slips and innocuous gestures of officials. The reality of governance is concealed by a cloak of normality, procedural regularity, and legality. This is to be expected within party politics, where things are resolved with deals among party insiders, i.e. the proverbial smoke-filled room. This is why Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, and Amy Klobuchar rather suddenly dropped out to make way for Joseph Rahim Biden in 2020, after it appeared the divided field could end up with a Bernie Sanders as the nominee. But this approach, secret groups secretly deciding how to control events, is not supposed to dominate ordinary governance. Donald Trump faced harassment from the intelligence community and other unelected parts of government throughout his term as president, delaying the provision of funds Congress appropriated for Ukraine, something well within his authority as president, formed the basis of the first impeachment, which was bullshit. And a crew of insiders and bureaucrats waxed eloquent about their sacred interagency consensus, but the Congress and the American people were not buying it. Americans still think elections are supposed to matter. In spite of his manifest unpopularity and refusal to even campaign, Biden was elected in the cleanest and fairest elections in the history of the United States in 2020. Having rarely met an actual Biden supporter, Trump voters were skeptical and angry. The extended recounts, unceremonious dismissal of legal challenges, and videos of disappearing ballots, which didn't happen. There were no ballots that disappeared. I can't read this article, but you want to read this article. I'm just saying. I'm done. I can't do it. Sorry, I'm not doing it. Let's see. An ex-Clinton official. Biden in very big trouble over the document scandal. Okay. This is more of the example of the deep staters that are probably they're trying to get rid of Biden. Can you just feel it? A former Clinton administration official, David Gergen. Oh my gosh, that turtle-looking motherfucker. Anyway, he's Anyway, now a political analyst at This is CNN warned late last week that Biden was in for a nightmare over the classified document scandal when asked by network opinion host Anderson Cooper. Wait, network opinion host? Anderson's supposed to be a straight news guy. Well, I should probably rephrase that. He's just, okay, never mind. You know where I was going. How big of a mess Biden was in, Gergen responded, it is very big. Not legally, but politically, Gergen claimed. It's a very big deal. Gergen claim may not be entirely accurate, but as Attorney General Merrick Garland announced last week that he appointed a special counsel to oversee the federal investigation into the scandal. I do think that the Biden people, they may be making a big mistake. I don't think sitting there hunkering down now, you're just acting like it's not out there. They're going to get creamed by doing that. Gergen said that is the way the Biden administration has handled the matter, or the way the Biden administration handled the matter is going to lead the American public to ask the question, what are they hiding? Oh, gee, really? You think? Wait, that's not David Gergen. This is that other jackass. That's Andrew Gates or whatever the hell his name. What's his name? Not Gates. Marty, you shouldn't lie. Am I lying? Am I lying? What am I lying about? Here, maybe this after. This is that Andrew McCabe. That's who it is. That's Andrew McCabe. FTG.
I want to talk about the political fallout, which could be considerable.
Here we go. David
Welcome to the administration, certainly, coming as Phil Mattingly mentioned, with inflation cooling, gas prices dropping. And the
Oh, this is
president's
8 minutes
approval number
long?
is growing
I'm
in the
gonna
polls.
cut this
At least
off
before
very
this.
quickly.
Joining us
Watch.
is CNN senior political analyst David Gergen.
David
White House
Gergen.
insider for Democrats and Republicans alike, dating back to the Nixon years. Also CNN political commentator and
David
former
Gergen.
Pennsylvania Republican Congressman Charlie Dent.
Yeah,
and CNN political analyst Jackie Kucinich.
David
She's
Gergen.
Washington bureau chief for the Boston Globe.
Don't care.
David Gergen, let's start with you. How big a mess is this for the Biden administration?
It's very, very big. Not legally, but politically, it's a very, very big deal. This is a president who was marching upward for the first time in his presidency.
Marching upward? Marching upward? Joe Biden, this whole presidency's been a fucking disaster. Give me a break. Anyway.
People are feeling better about the economy.
No, they aren't.
All sorts of
what people are you around that are feeling better about the economy, David Gergen? Holy crap, this got to be kidding me.
Reasons to believe that he can now present himself. The fears that people like me have about how old is he and can he govern well, those fears will be dissipated.
Pot? My name is Kettle.
If he were able to stay on that track. But now along comes this gigantic story, which was totally unexpected, and it's knocked for six.
Yeah.
The original.
And the media is actually talking about it. The memo went out. Somebody in the FBI sent out their damn memo. Tom 14's nice to see you. Yeah, the memo's out because they're talking about this, and they would be poo-pooing this to death. And nope, they're not poo-pooing it now.
There's no plan now, but I do think that the Biden people, they may be making a big mistake. I may be wrong about this. I think they've done a wonderful job being cooperative with the government, and they've done.
Yes, they've been wonderful, just wonderful.
But I don't think sitting
just
there
like Air Force One stairs.
Now,
that's hilarious.
They're just acting like it's not out there is a good strategy. They're just going to get cream doing.
There's
that.
also
They're
been
gonna get
the
cream
drip of information. Some of that,
I think Anderson Cooper knows a little bit about drip. I didn't say that out loud.
Unpreventable because they didn't know a special counsel was coming, but they did know when they had the president talk about the first batch of documents that were found. They'd already known that there were other documents
and
found.
And they lied.
You would think they might have just announced that all at once.
Okay, so anyway, Gergen thinks they're going to get creamed. That was the point of the article. And that's it. So I'm going to talk about that one. All right, let's move on because you can watch the rest yourself. And I'm running out of time. Speaking of Andrew McCabe, that jackass, he's saying that the Bidens shouldn't obstruct the GOP classified documents probe. Does he mean like if they subpoena somebody, they shouldn't go? Kind of like, what's the guy? Was the War Room guy? The guy that looks like he's a disheveled frat boy. Oh shit, I can't even think of his name. Anyway, Friday afternoon, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan announced an investigation into Biden's mishandling of classified documents, some of which were labeled top secret. Andrew McCabe, the disgraced former FBI deputy director and current CNN senior law enforcement analyst. They all just end up at CNN or MSNBC, don't they? Promptly urged the Biden Justice Department to obstruct that investigation. Steve Bannon, yeah, he looks like doesn't he? He looks like just a 80s holdover, disheveled, like homeless frat guy or some shit. Anyway, yeah, McCabe obstruct the GOP oversight committee looking at these documents. Well, if they do and someone rejects a subpoena, they should just throw them in jail just like Steve Bannon then. Okay, let's move on. Hunter Biden, by the way. This is more about the documents. This is crazy. So apparently Hunter listed $49,910 monthly rent payments while living at Joe Biden's residence. Now that's interesting. Listen to this shit. Hunter Biden recorded monthly rent payments of $49,910 while living at President Joe Biden's residence, according to a document unearthed by the New York Post Miranda Devine. On a document titled Background Screening Request, it appears Hunter Biden paid $49,900 in monthly rent for 1 year while living at Joe Biden's Delaware residence, where the president kept classified documents right next to his Corvette. Hunter listed his rental tenancy from March 2017 to February 2018. The document shows the document was signed July 2018. In 2017, Joe Biden left the White House and stored a large number. Well, I don't know if it's a large number. They said, see, now this is Breitbart extrapolating a little more than they should. Just a cache of classified documents inside his Delaware garage and at 2 other locations. The first batch of documents found are alleged to contain information pertaining to Ukraine and Iran, according to CNN. The document shows that Hunter checked a box on the form claiming to own Joe Biden's home. It is unknown why Hunter would have paid rent if he owned the home. So what does this sound like? $49,910 a month rent while living at Joe Biden's home? What does that mean? It should be noted that Joe Biden's 2017 tax return on Schedule E only listed $19,800 in rents received. I wonder if could that be a typo or a hando? Because a hando, that sounds weird. That's did you get a hando in there? Anyway, yes, 49 monthly rent, $49,910. Huh.
Wow.
Anyway, okay, we don't need to see any of that shit. Anyway, that's kind of crazy. I wonder why. I wonder what that's all about. It's not like maybe they had a big old giant industrial sized washing machine for Eddie, you got it, where he did his money laundry there. Yes, he did. He lived in the home where he could do his money laundry. 600, is that 600,000 a year? Yeah, roughly 600,000 a year for rent. Okay, real good. All right, I'm going to skip by these. I'm kind of out of time here. But there is an interesting Twitter thread by John Turley talking about Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House Secretary Diversity hire, saying how it's increasingly painful to watch Karine Jean-Pierre as she argues that they have been transparent by being transparently unwilling to answer any questions. Nothing prevents the White House from answering basic questions about the scandal. We're talking about the document scandal here. It will not undermine the Justice Department for the White House to confirm the president's position and recollection. The silence protects the president, not the investigation. The White House has already stated that the documents were inadvertently removed, but refuses to answer questions on the basis or meaning of that defense. I can understand the desire of a criminal defense attorney for Biden to remain silent. However, the refusal to answer basic questions is not to protect the independence of the Justice Department or the investigation. It's meant to protect the president as an individual. Now, I think maybe he has the right to protect himself, but it sure doesn't look good when they don't want to answer questions about it. And I think that was Turley's point here. All right, let's see. Let me finish up with, I didn't get to these articles from Gunfox, damn it. There's also, by the way, apparently there's a betting site that is posting the odds for the location of the next classified Biden docs discovery. This is funny. I'm just going to go overtime there. I don't care. After the White House admitted this week that classified documents were kept at President Joe Biden's Washington, D.C. offices and at his home in Wilmington, Delaware, one sportsbook is offering bettors a chance to place wagers on where Biden's next document trove will be discovered. Sports betting site Bovada, whatever, is taking bets on 14 possible locations where a possible third batch of classified documents linked to Biden might be found. The most likely location, according to the site's odds maker, is the Biden's family home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, but The site is taking bets on far more unlikely locations for classified documents to turn up, including the Washington, D.C. Metro, a private jet, and Disney World. The site weighed in on the document scandal after the White House on Monday revealed that classified documents were found at the offices of the Penn Biden Center in D.C. Then on Thursday, well, we already know this story, but there's some other long shot places that they've thought of. Other long odds locations for Biden document troves Bovada accepts wagers for include Buckingham Palace, probably a long shot, the Grand Canyon, probably even more of a long shot, and in an envelope at the Oscars. They're taking bets that it be found in an envelope at the Oscars, and the winner is China.
China is asshole.
Okay, and then finally, got a couple of articles that on Martin Luther King Day would be appropriate for the day. Democrats seeking reparations for and a national apology for slavery. We are moving closer. Bill makes no recommendation on what kind of payment should be offered or how a national apology would be issued, but we do have a second article that gives a number. This is interesting. Dozens of House Democrats this week renewed their push for reparations and a national apology for slavery by reintroducing legislation that would set up a commission to consider these steps as a way to address the, quote, cruelty, brutality, and inhumanity of slavery in the U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, Democrat from Texas, led 52 House Democrats proposed the legislation this week in an effort to keep the issue alive. Her legislation, which was considered by the House Judiciary Committee in the last Congress when Democrats were in charge, is unlikely to be taken up in the 118th Congress led by Republicans. And that's why she's introducing it now. That's the only reason. Still, Jackson Lee said she is hopeful a commission can be formed not just to recommend monthly monetary compensation, but to help America understand how slavery still affects the country today. It kind of doesn't, but though some have tried to deflect on the importance of these conversations by focusing on individual monetary compensation, the real issue is whether and how this nation can come to grips with the legacy of slavery that still infects current society, she said. Through legislation, resolutions, news, and litigation, we are moving closer to make more strides in the movement towards reparations. The new House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries of New York, said in November he supports the idea of a commission because of the lingering effects of slavery and ongoing discrimination against Black Americans, says the Speaker of the House Minority Leader, and we're not talking minority as because he's a black man, okay? And for the bill written by Sheila Jackson Lee, who is a member of Congress. This is the irony of it. But again, I am fairly agnostic towards this whole discussion. I don't argue one way or the other, but it's very interesting. We're not going to move on because after slavery, there was Jim Crow and the rise of the KKK, Jeffrey said in 2021, and the lynching epidemic, and Plessy versus Ferguson, and Black Wall Street in 21 destroyed. Look. Well, let me just move on. Let me skip that. If you want to read that one, there's also a separate news break where people are commenting on that article. And then the companion article that Gunfox sent me. Economists say reparations to Black Americans would total $13 to $14 trillion. With a T. Duke economist Dr. William Sandy Darity estimates that the funds would close the racial wealth gap and eliminate race-based government restitution. Would it now? The American Economic Association held its annual conference last week and featured the latest work of Duke University professor of public policy, Dr. William Sandy Darity. He is the leading Black economist on Black wealth and reparations. His 2020 book, From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century, has shaped all the conversations about reparations to the descendants of Africans who were stolen from their homes and enslaved in the U.S. Okay, and then they're saying it's about $300,000 per person, or the 13 to 14 trillion would be roughly $250 $87,000 for every black man, woman, and child in America. Now, I don't know how that's the government's fault. I don't know. It's the country. It's a country that ended slavery. I have very, very. Now I understand. After the Emancipation Proclamation, and there was that time when every American was using the move west to get their acres and mules and whatever, and black Americans did not get those. But I'm not understanding, I guess, how the reparations for slavery would be compensated through the American electorate, who had vast majority of which had nothing to do with slavery. And in particular, the United States, which defeated the country that left the United States, although not all the states that fought for the North were free states. And the fact that we ended it after roughly 80 some years, well, less than 80 years into the experiment that is the United States of America, how you can have it be reparations for slavery. And then the fact that cultures worldwide have endured slavery for as long as we know people existed. And we ended it in that time period in many countries, but then there's still countries that have it. So there's so many different arguments for and against. Some I get for, and a lot I get against. And that's why I'm fairly agnostic on it. I can go back and forth on it. I know that it doesn't make sense from necessarily an economic standpoint unless and there's always the jokes. Oh, someone should, if they do it, someone should invest in Gucci. Well, fuck that. I get it. It is funny, but it's also, I'm not one of those people. I guess I'm not one who pushes it, even though I understand the arguments for it. So anyway, and to end the show, this is the last one. There's a couple others here. By the way, Hunter Biden is seeking a court to bar his daughter from using his Biden last name. So the stripper or whatever that he got pregnant in Arkansas, they have a daughter. I think she's nearly 5 or 6 years old now, and apparently they're trying to bar her from using his last name. That should be on FTG Day, but I'll leave the article up. And then also, what's this? Oh, people are mad at Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, and Gabbard. There's a MSNBC article here talking about basically how they're traitors and they're really right-wing fascists, and they're vulnerable to the populist right because they don't agree on this Twitter file shit. Anyway, but this one, MSNBC says releasing the January 6th Capitol footage is dangerous. One of the major wins of the McCarthy drama that gripped Congress last week was a pledge from the new speaker to release all of the January 6th riot footage. From Newsweek, speaking to reporters Thursday, McCarthy said he intends to make public the thousands of hours of footage of the insurrection, something Republicans have long called for as a part of attempts to exonerate both lawmakers and civilians accused of wrongdoing in connection with the riots. McCarthy said he would consider releasing all the footage as the public should see what happens, they should, that day rather than rely on the report from the House Select Committee which investigated the attack. Now, what possible rationale could there be 2+ years later for the government to continue to hide from the public and publicly funded surveillance, the publicly funded surveillance footage documenting the greatest attack on democracy since the Civil War, as Democrats have branded it, in the people's house? Are we citizens or serfs? Leave it to former Bush White House communications director and current MSNBC hack Nicole Wallace to bring a former Democrat rep, Elena Luria, to explain the pitfalls of McCarthy's dangerous deal with the devil. And I'll just give you this one-liner and then you can watch the rest yourself. If you release all the security tapes at the Capitol, every bit of information that would lay out a roadmap for someone who wants to come try to do something like this again, that is really dangerous for the future security of the Capitol. Large portion of the tapes have been released in different contexts. No, I don't give a fuck. You release the tapes. It's the people's house. It happened in the people's house. And there are probably some, exculpatory evidence in those tapes. Fuck you, MSNBC and Elaine Luria and everyone else who thinks the tapes should not be released. Release the tapes now. Let's have the truth and let the chips fall where they may. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely got to go. Thank you for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. It's been special, more than special, but I want to thank you for being here. Remember, you're the sponsor of the show. Hit the like button, share the stream, put a comment in the comment section if you are just, if you're really late and you got to watch the replay later, or if you're just watching the replay just because you're watching the replay. And then finally, you can sponsor the show 24 hours a day at pdognight.live. Yes, thank you to our sponsors today. There's a whole bunch today. What is, let's see. Cryptic, Johnny Hellcat, Chicago Mike, Maddie, and that's everybody. And Maddie, you are the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thanks, everybody. Gotta go. My name is P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.